Part 1, Identification, the basics. Project name, where it is, the bid package number, which trade, and what date the scope was issued. This sounds boring, but it matters more than you would think. On a real construction project, you will see 10 or 15 bid packages going out at the same time. If the identification block is wrong, the wrong contractor gets the wrong scope. Bidders price the wrong work. People show up confused. So get this right and treat it like the cover sheet of a serious document. The roofing example on the slide tells you that bid package 07A covers all the roofing related work. The roofer who picks this up knows immediately what they are looking at. Specification references. This is the list of spec sections the contractor must follow. Two important things here. First, every scope references Division 1 general requirements. Division 1 applies to every trade no matter what they are doing. Submittals, payment procedures, temporary facilities, closeout. So Division 1 shows up on every scope. Second, the scope points to the trade-specific divisions. It does not retype the specs. It lists them by their CSI number and says comply with these sections. The contractor's job is to read those sections and comply. A roofing scope might reference Division 1 plus 7 or 8 sections from Division 7 short list. Very specific. Question, which construction specifications institute division applies to every trade scope regardless of what the trade does? Answer choices. A, Division 3 concrete. B, Division 1 general requirements. C, Division 7 thermal and moisture protection. D, Division 26 electric. Division 1 general requirements applies to every trade on a project. It covers submittals, payment procedures, temporary facilities, closeout, and other items every contractor must follow regardless of their trade. You will see Division 1 referenced at the top of every scope of work. Part 3, drawing references. Same idea as the spec references, but for the drawings. Which sheets does this trade need to look at? For roofing, that means roof plans, roof details, wall sections where the roof meets the wall, and any drainage sheets. The scope tells the contractor where to look. It does not summarize what the drawings show. That is the contractor's job. The thing to notice here is that the scope is doing a lot of pointing. It points at specs, it points at drawings. The actual technical content lives somewhere else. The scope's job is to tell the contractor where to look and to assign responsibility for what they find there. Part 4. Inclusions. This is the heart of the scope. The longest section, the one everyone reads first. It is the list of everything the trade is responsible for furnishing and installing. Materials, labor, equipment, anything incidental to the work. Notice how the example reads. Furnish and install all membrane roofing, insulation, metal roof panels, flashing, gutters, downspouts, roof hatches. The list is specific. It is comprehensive. Here is something to remember. If something belongs to this trade but is not listed in the inclusions, it is at real risk of being missed. Bidders price what they see. If the scope writer forgot to list something, the contractor might not include it, and you have a gap. So this section gets serious attention from the CM and serious attention from the bidder. According to the video, what is the risk if a scope writer forgets to list an item in the inclusion section? Answer choices. A, the owner will pay for the item separately. B, the architect will add it to the specifications. C, the bidder may not include it in their price, creating a gap. D, the CM will pay for it out of project contingency. Bidders price what they see. If the scope writer leaves something out, the contractor may not include it in their price. That gap shows up later as a change order or a dispute. This is why inclusions get serious attention from both the CM and the bidder. Part 5. Exclusions. Just as important as the inclusions, maybe more important, the exclusion list says here's what this trade is not responsible for. Why does this matter? Because at the boundaries between trades, things can get fuzzy. The exclusion list removes that fuzziness. Look at the roofing example. Roofing excludes the structural roof deck because that is in the steel package. Roofing excludes the rooftop mechanical equipment because that is in the HVAC package, but notice the example also says the flashing around that equipment is included, so the scope is being precise. The roofer does not provide the unit, but the roofer does flash around it. That kind of precision is what separates a good scope from a weak one. Part 6. Coordination. This connects directly to what we just talked about with exclusions. Coordination is the section that names how this trade works with the others, specifically who owns the work at the trade boundaries. Here is the thing about coordination. It is where change orders are born. Take the example we talked about in the intro. Where the roof meets a brick wall, you have flashing. There is base flashing that comes up off the roof onto the wall, and there is counter flashing that comes down from a reglet cut in the mortar joint and overlaps the base flashing. Who installs which piece? If the scope is fuzzy, the roofer assumes the mason installs the counter flashing because it goes in their wall. The mason assumes the roofer does anything roofing related. Nobody prices it. The joint leaks the first hard rain after it dries in, and you have a real problem. A good coordination section names who installs what at every important trade boundary: roof to wall, slab to wall, mechanical equipment to roof. The seams between trades are where the discipline of scope writing really shows. Question: the video describes a flashing detail where the roof meets a brick wall. If the scope does not name who installs the counter flashing, what is most likely to happen? Answer choices. A. The architect will install it during punch list. B. The roofer and the mason will each assume the other has it, and nobody prices it. C. The work will be deleted from the project. D. The owner will hire a separate flashing contractor. If the scope does not assign counter flashing, the roofer and mason may each assume the other is responsible, and no one includes it in their price. Part 7, submittals. These are the documents the trade has to hand in before they can do the work. Product data sheets that prove the material meets the spec, shop drawings that show how they will actually build it, warranties, manufacturer certifications. These get reviewed and approved before installation, sometimes weeks before. Why does the scope address this? Because submittals are a real source of delay. If the contractor does not understand what they have to submit, they get behind, and that pushes their start date, and that ripples through the schedule. So the scope tells them up front, here are the submittal categories you owe us, plan accordingly. Schedule. The scope addresses time, not by giving the contractor the full project schedule, but by calling out milestones the contractor must hit. For roofing, the biggest one is when the building gets weather tight. The moment the building is sealed against the elements, the moment the building is weather tight. Until the roof is on and the building is sealed, you cannot start interior finish work without risking weather damage. So roofing schedule milestones are tied to every interior trade that follows. The scope says this. It also calls out durations the contractor is expected to commit to and any sequencing constraints. The point is, the trade is not working in its own bubble. It fits into a larger schedule, and the scope tells them how. Question: what does weather tight to in a roofing scope? Answer choices. A. The day all roofing materials arrive on site. B. The moment the building is sealed and weather tight. C. The completion of the membrane warranty inspection. D. The day final payment is released to the roofing contractor.
Correct answer. B. The moment the building is sealed and weather tight.
Part 9. Quality and codes. This is where the scope addresses the standards the work must meet, building codes that apply to this trade, fire codes, manufacturer installation requirements, required testing, required inspections, workmanship expectations. Manufacturer requirements are huge in roofing because the warranty depends on it. A 20-year manufacturer warranty on a membrane roof is only valid if it was installed by a certified installer following the manufacturer's procedures. So quality is not just about the building looking right, it is about real legal and financial protection downstream. If the install is sloppy, you may have a roof and no warranty. Part 10, site and logistics, how the work actually happens on this site. Where does this trade stage materials? Where do their deliveries go? Do they need crane access? And if so, when? Who cleans up at the end of each day? What are the safety requirements? Roofing involves work at height, so fall protection is a big deal. Material gets craned up to the roof. There is a real physical logistics question every day. The scope addresses this so the bidder can price it. Site logistics gets ignored at the bidder's peril. What looks easy on a drawing might be very hard on a tight urban site with no parking and one access point. Part 11. Allowances and alternates. These are pricing mechanisms inside the scope. An allowance is money set aside for something whose specifics have not been finalized. The contractor includes the allowance in their price. When the actual cost is known, the allowance gets reconciled up or down. A unit price covers add or deduct quantities. If we end up needing 3 more roof drains in the field because of conditions we did not see during design, the unit price tells us exactly what each one costs. An alternate is an option the owner can accept or decline at award. Maybe the base scope has a standard membrane and an alternate price is an upgraded membrane with a longer warranty. The owner can choose at the right moment. These tools let scopes handle uncertainty without breaking the procurement. Part 12, special conditions. This is the catch-all. Anything unique to this trade on this project that does not fit anywhere else. The example on the slide is a real one. If you are doing roofing work on an occupied medical site, you may be limited to certain hours so you do not disturb patient care. You may have noise restrictions. You may have odor controls because some adhesives give off fumes that cannot drift into the building. Those are not standard scope items. They are project specific. Every project has its own. A school project might have summer only schedule constraints. A downtown high rise might have street closure restrictions. The scope captures what is unusual about this job. If you do not capture it here, the contractor finds out about it on day one and prices a change order on day two.